Welcome to the Human Endurance Podcast, Leana.
Yeah.
Super excited to have you here today. We came straight from Dubai, from T100 race here to cold Switzerland. And we're excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. Looking forward to it.
For the listeners that don't know who you are, could you introduce yourself to the audience?
Well, I'm Leana Bissig. I do triathlon now for many, many years. I would call myself now a professional athlete, but over the last years, I got better and better in the sports. And yeah, I race on the highest level of the sport and trying to get better at it.
Nice. Cool. And can you share a bit how you got into the sport?
Yeah, so I always love to move, to exercise, to be active. And then I got into swimming from a very young age and started doing swimming competitions by 10 years of age. But after 3 years, I was like already done with it, just swimming. So it didn't take that much time. And I was like, I still wanted to swim, but I didn't want to swim or to only swim. So I thought like, why not try triathlon? It was also the year where Nicola Spirig won the Olympics. So right after that summer, I decided to, give it a try. And we had the local triathlon club at our place. And it was such a good group. And it was just cool to, go with them and have fun.
I was actually going to ask if you were inspired by some of the Swiss idols in triathlon. That now makes sense that Nicola Spirig inspired you to start triathlon.
Yeah, especially because my father worked at that time at one of her sponsors. So even before that, like many years, it was always like the big Nicola Spirig and what she all did, such like impressive stuff. And he was always very impressed about like, oh, they should train like 3 times a day and wow. And yeah, back then I didn't think I would eventually also do it. It was
And it's super cool. We're also big fans of her. She's such a legend. I'm curious also to hear from you, like there is a big jump from, being a very good amateur to being professional. How was that progression for you? When did you realize, oh, I'm actually good enough to go pro? And how was that decision for you?
So it was like when you come up from the youth ranks, you're like always in you raced juniors in Switzerland and also like on a junior European Cup level, and then you move up to the elite, but you also have some U23 champs. So it's like kind of in that age group, but it's still like in the elite level. So it kind of, I always moved up towards like racing in the elite field, and it became kind of naturally. When I started my first 70.3 race, I was like, of course, I just thought, I'll just race as a pro because I did it on the short course. So I got into it in middle distance as a pro. I did my first one back in 2021, and it was, I was underprepared for it. I also didn't have a TT bike back then. So it was a very hard race.
And already as a pro.
Yeah, already as a
very
pro.
difficult.
It was very difficult, but I just wanted to test the distance, and I loved it. And then I came back for real last year.
Nice. Which race was that?
My first one was Nizza, 7.3.
But at least there, maybe the road bike is not the worst choice.
It's not the worst choice, but TT is faster, I guess.
Good for you to know next year. Because Fabi's gonna do the World Championship.
Yeah.
Should be excited. And we know that you also have a master's from ETH, right, in health sciences. If you've been doing triathlon your whole life and you also did your master's and your studies, it means that at some point you were doing both, really having to study really hard and train very hard. I think that's very impressive, first of all, and something that can be inspiring for other people, especially amateurs that don't get to just do triathlon. Can you share some of the strategies that you used during that time to make this work? Like any insights that you can share with the audience?
And also maybe to highlight, ETH is also known to be very demanding for students, so it's not just any degree, I would say.
Absolutely,
It's really hard to pass that squeeze. So.
Is that true?
Well, so I can actually say like since I'm done studying, I have much more time, and I could also like really see the progression, or like I could make a further step in the sports. So yes, the 5 years when I was studying, they were demanding, but I think they also helped me to gradually increase the mileage, to gradually increase, like build my endurance bases and get better at it. And yeah, it also helped to have like something on the side, to have a perspective. To, for me, it was very important to go and study and like know people there, like have a perspective after elite sports, because elite sports is not forever. And yeah, I like to use my brain and think as well in other sorts of stuff.
I can totally understand that. And how was training then there? Could you walk us through like a week? Will you wake up before class, do a session, do one at lunch, and then do one in the evening, or how would that work?
So I started back in 2017, when I was in my last year as a junior athlete. So I tried to train around 20 hours, and it was tough back then. I usually did like, during lunch one session and in the evening, and then on the weekend I tried to do more. But looking back, I don't know how I did it. Like, I think the recovery definitely like came too short, or I would also say like the amount of sleep. But I think if you have a plan and if you really want to do it and you believe in it, then you can also achieve much more than when you don't believe in it. And yeah, over time, for me, it also helped that like during COVID, we had this 1 year where we just had online classes. It actually like helped me a lot, and there were no races, so I just had like the online classes, and I could train, and that I think that also helped me for the 2 or 3 years that came afterwards, which was more in presence again, to just be like that, we had a bit of a recovery during that year, or a bit of downtime.
Yeah. Do you think doing both things, studying and training hard, helped somehow mentally as well? Because at the end of the day, like maybe because for example, for me, I was a very good tennis player in my youth, and I also always wanted to study. I really cared about having an education and doing something with my brain, kind of similar to you. I wasn't as good as you, never went professional, but I kind of remember being in this position and thinking to myself, oh, when I'm at the tournaments, it's kind of okay if things don't go so well because I have another option. Or if when I was studying, sometimes I would think to myself, oh, it's kind of okay because I also have tennis, you know? Like, did you go through anything of the sorts, like reducing pressure because you have two options?
I think so, yeah. I did. It just like helps to have a backup. But I also had this discussion with my coach lately, like it can be both. Like it helps to reduce pressure, but it's also like you don't go full into one and see like what is able if you do focus on just one thing. So it's both ways. But I think as a developing athlete, and triathlon is a sport which takes time to really be at your best. It takes years. So I think it's important to not just go in the first year all in, because you eventually probably get injured or exhausted.
Yeah. You also don't know if you actually can get to that level if you want to go pro to live off it. And I'm curious also a bit more to understand, because you did the short course for quite a bit, and then after COVID, you did your first 70.3. What led you to go to longer distances? Was it COVID?
Well, I think I'm just not the fastest athlete, but like my endurance is just really good. So I always like on progressive long runs, for example, or in longer sessions, or on build sessions, I usually excel. And I'm not like the sprinter or like running 800 meters on the track. I'm just not that super fast. So it was like kind of natural. And then also a lot of people told me like, try it out, it suits you more. But for me, it was really hard to like really focus on the longer stuff, because I've watched the Olympics and it was like short course was what triathlon meant to me. I know there is like Hawaii and Ironman is really big, but for me in my little world back then, it was like short course. Short course is
Nicola is showing the Olympic, right? Yeah, Nicola.
Yeah, I guess it's like there's two type of triathletes. The ones that start because of Kona, and then there's the ones that do it because of the Olympics.
Yeah,
it's interesting. But is Kona now that you moved to more middle and long distance? Is this now a dream coming up, or are you just seeing how it goes.
Yeah, as the years pass by, I watch Kona and I get more excited about it. I also feel, yeah, it seems to be a very, very hard race, and you need to prepare very well if you want to like
Survive.
and then you still don't know because anything can happen on that island. But yeah, I think eventually that will be a goal in the upcoming years.
Nice, cool. So it's official. Nice, amazing. And going back to your studies, because you did health science, and I guess you also, I mean, you learned a lot about body and physiology. Did that somehow, or did you have some learnings that you could take into your sport, or how did that affect your professional athletic career?
Yeah, I think definitely like having courses about human physiology, also about sports physiology, like you really get into the deep end and understand what's happening. You're able to read the papers and understand the studies they do with it. Like, for example, we did a project on heat adaptation, heat training in one of the courses, also about nutrition for normal people, for athletes. Yeah, ETH offered a lot of like courses with specialists on that topic. But it was also in my degree, we also had not only the focus on sports, but also on general health science. And I also moved more into not only the sports field, but also like tissue engineering and really like the scientific level on micro scale or macro scale.
Interesting. And do you now, you do work still, right? In next to triathlon, you still have a job that you pursue?
Yeah, I do. So once I finished my studies, I had a job at Pfizer for almost 2 years. So it was kind of, I got in there as an internship, and I always wanted to see how the industry works and got in there, and it was more like in the online marketing field. And now since another almost 1.5 year, I switched like the sector. So it's more, I'm working in the financial software industry, but I'm working with numbers, with data, and it's the same in both fields. It's just like the topic is not the human, but the financial world.
So in terms of time, how do you manage that with your professional career?
Well, it's not easy. I think the company I'm working at is very open. It's we're not that big. We're around 30 people, so we know each other. We know our strengths, and they know that I work 5 days a week, but I can split it, and it's a lot of also remote work. So I'm available a lot, but I can also train in between. So it's at the moment it's like a perfect match.
It works. Yeah. Impressive though. So I would love to dive a bit deeper into training now. First, I would like to understand how did your training change from when you went from short course or when you were doing short course to now doing more mid distance. If we break it down, for example, focus on long runs, like in short course, if you do 90 minutes, that's probably plenty for your long runs. For attacking the 70.3 or T100s now, has that changed for you? Like if you just focus on the run, what is generally different?
So as a short course athlete, I also ran 90 minutes, but it was usually just like the easy long run to get some mileage in. And now I do more long runs. They don't get much longer than 90 minutes, maybe 95 or 100 minutes, but I do a lot of times some build runs in it. For example, 3 times 20 minutes where I just, with a little break in between, where I build the pace over the set. So actually, like at the end, it's the fastest where you're the most tired, or in general, just some progressive runs. So yeah, I think it's really that what changed.
Okay, interesting. So it's more like adding intensity to the long run, but the long runs are generally the same.
Yes. Okay. And I probably do less of the shorter interval sessions, but it depends on the time of the year and what the focus is.
Yeah.
What I also do is like some really short stuff, like some 1 minute or 30 seconds that I still do to like get the frequency up, because for me, I'm like not the fastest, so I need to work on the speed to still like somehow keep it.
Right. Yeah. Like if it's one of your limiting factors, you're obviously gonna go and keep working on that.
Yes.
Makes sense. How about for the bike? I think one of the biggest differences is like drafting and non-drafting. Yeah. How does that change for training?
Yeah, I think the bike is probably the one you can do the most, or which is much more important in a long course. So yeah, without the drafting, you cannot just sit on someone's wheel and pedal with it, but you really have to push. Yeah, we of course try to increase the hours. That happened over the last years anyway, because I had more time, and when you have more time investing into your bike hours, for your general fitness is just like the simplest option, and which gives you the most out of it. And yeah, the sessions also we like do longer sessions at race pace. We do some low frequency work on hills, which you don't necessarily need to do as a short course athlete, because there you ride with high frequency to get as fresh legs up into the run.
Interesting.
And I guess you do a lot of like attacking, then you stop again, right? It's more like
yeah, it's much more dynamic. The short course, like you really need to have. When you look at the power profile of your race, it's like when you have the 7 levels, it's like 6 and 7 is up very high, and level 1 and 2 also, and in the middle you don't have barely any power in short course, and in middle distance it's more or less the opposite.
Yeah, it's just always the same, or should be at least. Right?
Should be, but again, on the way we race T100 now, it's also getting more and more short course like. And when you have courses in Dubai, we had I think 34 dead turns, so you always need to go out of the saddle and push again, and then it also gets you the spike.
Oh, interesting.
But not as much as in a short course.
Yeah. And how do you practice? Because I've never done anything that drafting was allowed. Like, and I'm not the most skilled on the bike, so that when I'm watching those races, I'm always like, oh my God, how are people doing this? Like, how do you practice for that? Because it's so difficult, right? So many people riding so close together, and then you're trying to attack. And how does that work?
I think best you learn it in races.
Yeah.
It hopefully doesn't go wrong with crashes, but yeah, it's always a bit of elbowing. You need to take your space, and this takes practice. And it's also like in training, if you ride in a group, like with the Swiss national team, when we're on camps, like when you ride 10 or 12 of us together, you also get used to it. It's not just in the you can also train it in the easy sessions, like when you're tired after 3 hours and you work in a group, then
makes sense.
And I have another question also, because obviously when I'm racing, I'm just racing for my time, and I'm not actually racing with people. But how is it now in non-drafting? Because people always talk about working together on the bike, but you cannot draft. So what does that really actually mean?
Yeah, I think like in Ironman, when you have the 12 meters, it actually it's still very close. So you still probably feel some of the drafting.
I do.
In T100, when you have the 20 meters, you don't anymore. T100 is 20, and you also have the race ranger, so you really know, and everyone knows if you're at the right distance. For me, it just helps because
you see something in front
you see something. You have like one goal. If the rider in front of you is stronger, and you just want to follow, then you have one goal, and it's just not your power or your speed, but you want to follow this person, and that helps.
Because I was always wondering why people are saying, oh, let's alternate on the bike on long course, right? They kind of, oh, you should, like, they're angry when people don't pull. I'm like, oh, but it's not even that you get a benefit. Okay, then it makes a lot of sense. You want just to have some aim in front of you.
Yeah, and it's sometimes like in the pro races, like in T100, there are 20 of us on the start, and it could be that you're like completely riding by yourself, and you don't see anyone in front of you, nobody at the back, and then it gets a bit difficult, like to keep pushing and be fast.
I would also love to hear one more thing that relates to the difference between short course and middle distance, which is the brick sessions. How is that generally? Does it change when you're doing one kind of racing and the other?
Well, on the longer distances now, I started to do more like just running after the bike. Just like I do 2 or 3 hour bike, and then I do a 30 to 1 hour run afterwards, just to like extend the length of the session in total and to run on tired legs. So I usually do an effort on the bike, and then maybe the first 20 minutes of the run are also like at race pace or something, maybe not quite race pace. Yeah, and on short course, sometimes you do like the sprint sessions where you do change from bike to run and then short break, bike to run, and do this several times, just to like really get the transitions right, to really go out very hard off the bike, because that's short course race, and the first K is always like everyone comes out together and then it's full speed on, and the one who can hold the speed wins.
I see.
It looks very hard always.
Yeah, it is.
And it's also progression, right? You even increase the speed over the 10K.
Yeah, it depends on the people.
I would love to talk a bit more about like the races, and I'm just gonna mention some, and you can tell me which one you want to talk about. But I think one big success you had was last year, Ironman 70.3 Cascais, where you placed third. And then you also now in the T100 or got into the T100 races this year, and also you became part of team racing team Hotel Jakob. And now we also replaced, I think 8 or 7 it was in Wollongong in Australia, which is an amazing...
7th, right? It was 7th.
Amazing result. So can you share a bit what you think led to those successes in the last year and also the T100?
Yeah, so since 2 years, I changed coach. And at the same time, I also like was really done with my studies and had changed my job as well to the place I'm working now. So I really had like a lot more time to focus on being a professional athlete.
And that explains.
Yeah, so I trained more. We really started to invest more into the bike, so I could develop there and got stronger. And
did you feel like a big change in your numbers probably as well?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I just became stronger, and over the years before, I was asking myself, like I became stronger, but sometimes I kind of like stagnated, and I always wondered, do I still have something more in me? But yeah, I guess I did.
Yeah, I guess it also depends on the training approach. I'm curious to learn a bit what was different from the coach you had 2 years ago versus the coach you have now, and who's, by the way, your coach that you have now?
Yeah, so now I'm coached by Jordi Molenberg. He's the Swiss national coach of the short course. But he also coaches one athlete who does a long distance at the moment, so he knows both. Yeah, also my coach before, Sabine Pöller, I think she was the best option back then, like to really combine sports and studies. So she knew like the level of that I was a pro, so that my studies also took a lot of time and energy, and she could balance that quite well. Yeah, Jordi is much more like, he can really push me, and also like talking to him, he challenges me a lot to like get better or getting the best out of me, and also help me a lot on the mental side to become better, and like use that entire spectrum to really push myself.
Can you give some example? I'm curious to learn more. Like, did you have something that he saw that you need improvement on the mental side?
I think it's how you approach problems, and also a lot about confidence, believing in yourself. And yeah, I don't know how he does it exactly, but it's also like, yeah, when we talk to each other, and probably the way he structures the training, or that it's over time confidence building, the way we choose races, how we discuss the races after it, and what we learned from it. Yeah, but I don't know how he does it completely.
That's a good coach. To jump on what you just mentioned, choosing races, how are you doing this today? Like, how are you picking where you want to go to and be at the starting line?
Yeah, this year was busy, let's put it that way. Like, I started the year telling myself I'm only doing middle distance from now on, and then I got the invite to WTCS Abu Dhabi and also raced the mixed team relay there. And racing a mixed team relay for Switzerland is like a dream come true.
Congrats.
So yeah, I went back to short course like February, and I took this decision to do middle distance 1 month before. And yeah, Abu Dhabi went surprisingly well. I got 30th. I came out with the first big pack from the swim, and the swimming is always my struggle if I'm there or not. So it was like, wow, it's so cool to race on the biggest level of triathlon on short course. And from then on, it was like, yeah, I'll do one more WTCS. But I also want to do 70.3, so I want to like get up my ranking there to maybe get into T100, but I didn't know if I was good enough for T100. Well, my coach told me I am, but I didn't really believe it. So yeah, I probably did too many races, but I just got so many opportunities this year, so I just took them. And then this summer I think before T100 crashes, 10 days before I was in the wait list, and then I got the invite to do it. But I was already also signed up for 70.3 LMC, which I was also looking forward to. So I was like, it was a very tough decision.
But then the same date?
Same date, exactly.
Okay.
So my coach was like, if you go for T100, then you have to really like focus on T100. But I think he just tested me, like if I was really committed to like go all in. And it was a hard decision because it kind of felt fixed, and I'm trying to take all the opportunities, but I'm glad I took it. And then I got into T100 Spain, and then Australia, and now eventually even Dubai.
And how are those T100 races? Like, it's obviously ultra competitive, and the level of athletes is the highest you can get, except for the World Championships in 70.3 and full distance. How is like the atmosphere, and also also between the athletes? Are you friendly with each other? Are they super competitive? How are those races?
I think it's all very friendly with each other because everyone knows each other. We also stay at the same hotel, so it's like T100. It's like a big. They organize everything for you. It's very professional how they do it, how they treat us, and you're doing it together. But of course, like when the gun goes, it's full speed. No, it's not friends, but it's fair play, I would say.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. I love what they're doing with the sport. I was so excited to see when they came up, just like new races, more opportunities for all the athletes too, right? More money, more investments, more races. So that's cool that you can race there.
I'm curious to understand a bit more how it is to be part of the team you're racing with. Maybe you can explain to the listeners also what this team is all about, how big it is, and what comes with being part of this team.
Yeah, so Pro Team Hotel Jakob, it's a hotel in Austria, and they support 6 pro athletes or upcoming pros to like help them to really make the big steps to become the big pros. And they support us with a lot of materials, like for example, Canyon is we can ride Canyons, and also Sailfish is a sponsor for the wetsuits, and many other partners. And yeah, it's just for an athlete, it's really supportive when you have like people behind you supporting you and believing in you, and also supporting you with material and doing all the sponsorship connections.
Yeah. Do you guys ever train together?
I've spent there this year now 3 weeks, so yeah, when we're there, we see each other, and it's cool to train with each other. But it's in Austria, so it's not like around the corner.
Yeah. Who else is sponsored by Hotel Jakob?
Dani Kleiser, she also does a 70.3 on the women's side, and Therese Feuersinger, she does mainly doing short course, but also some middle distance from Austria. And on the men's side, it's Willy Hirsch.
Yeah, we saw him actually in Marbella.
Yeah.
A racing bike in his colorful suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Go Brazil. Everybody also gets the exact same color of bike, right? You cannot choose. It has to be white and black.
Well, this year we all got white and black, yes.
And maybe next year you already have a new bike.
Who knows?
Bike. Yeah, but it's expensive. I mean, me as an age group, we're having a bike. I'm obviously not buying every year a new bike, but it's service. I don't have any fancy parts on the bike. I have a really basic bike, TT, and it's like 3,000, and I mean you can go up to I guess you're at about 15K worth, and probably even more. So it's a lot of money if you don't have the sponsors. And
Can compete, right?
Yeah,
If
and
you
I
don't
guess a
have the
lot of
equipment.
pros that don't have a bike sponsor, they have to fund this all themselves, right?
Absolutely, yes. And that's a big difficulty.
Yeah. Cool. I would love to switch gears and talk a little bit more about nutrition. That's a topic that we've brought on the podcast a few times. We think it's really important to talk about it, especially for female athletes. We know that this is a struggle. I've struggled with myself. I'm wondering what's your general approach to nutrition? We know from talking before the podcast that you've never really had injuries. So I'm really curious how you're doing in this, because it seems like you're doing something right.
Well, I think it's important to eat enough. I think especially when you train so much, then it's less what you eat, but how much calories you get in. And I think most people tend to not get enough calories in and to slowly get into a deficiency, which leads to, can lead to redness, for example, which is a big problem.
How do you know what is enough for you?
Well, that's a difficult question because I don't track my intake.
Yeah.
Through my studies, I know a bit what's inside of food, how much calorie I need, what more dense, but I usually just eat by feel how hungry I am, and I know if I'm constantly eating.
Okay, good.
Do you make sure, because just an example now, for example, right before I did a bike session before we had the podcast.
A very hard one.
No, I mean,
It looked very hard.
and then we had to rush, and I didn't have anything to eat after, and I also forgot. And then that's why when we met you, I was eating a sandwich. You just really need to remember, okay, I need to eat, especially when you're in a rush. So are you consciously preparing your food at post session, or does it also happen sometimes that you're kind of forgetting to eat?
Yeah, it also happens to me, but I just know if I would have a session right afterwards, then I would probably meet beforehand, or it will be a tough session. So yeah, it's just you need to be aware that you eventually need to get the calories in.
Yeah.
And
how is it on now middle distance? Because short course, I think the nutrition is less important, I would say.
Absolutely.
And then middle, it's more important, and obviously Ironman is very important. How do you approach now nutrition, and how has this changed also for you to really go to focusing on your carb intake during the sessions?
Yeah, so on short course it obviously wasn't that important. On an Olympic distance, you took a gel and then it was fine, or maybe 2 gels. And if you didn't, it was also another big drama. On middle distance, I tend to also in training use more carbs, especially when I'm doing the long brick sessions. I usually use my race fuel and then try to get up the carbs to have a good session, but also then the session does not take too much out of me afterwards.
Yeah.
Do you have a sponsor there for nutrition?
From the team, we're sponsored by Power Bar.
Okay, nice.
I like their protein bar.
Yeah.
And are you trying to go as high carb as possible? Are you trying to push that there, or are you more on the normal side? There's some numbers now that are crazy.
I think I'm more on the normal side. I think the guys also need to take more. I don't know. I'm around 80 to 100 grams per hour.
Which used to be a lot back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. But now it's when people say 140 or even more.
Yeah,
that's not me.
We had another podcast, actually, very interesting. We're talking about nutrition too. It was with a coach, sports scientist, and he said that it's important how much you take in, but then the other question is also, can your body actually absorb all of what you take in? So I think that's a interesting thought to have.
It's not an easy answer to what is enough, right? And what is right. It's really
Absolutely.
actually complicated.
Well, when it was enough.
Yeah. You're full, I guess.
Yeah.
Not enough, maybe too.
You're too sore or something. Yeah. And then to close the topic on training, I'm also curious, what's your stance on strength training? Is this something you care about? Do you think it's really important, or is it a bonus?
I'm doing some conditioning and some mobility and stability, and I think that's very important just to stay injury-free. I probably don't do too much of it, and maybe should do more. I think strength training can really, like, if you've got an injury, like, to build up, to prevent if you have some disbalances, it can help. I think you see it more and more that also people like really try to like focus on it. Yeah, I think if I would have the time, and it's always a trade-off besides the other trainings, like it shouldn't affect your bike too much, but if it actually helps you to improve on the bike, then why not?
Yeah, and I guess for you working, like, when are you gonna do strength training?
Yeah, for me, just like
not
never
enough
had the
time.
priority, and also not like the necessity of injuries that I had to do it.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I would love to ask you a bit about your upcoming season, because we're already almost at the end. The seasons get longer and longer. Do you already have some plans for next year? Some focus, maybe again T100. I don't know if this is already out yet, or other 70.3, or maybe even an Ironman.
Well, it's still. I looked at the calendars which came up, but I have no clue what and how I'm going to do it. But I know I need a big block of winter training after Qatar, because this season has been very long, since February.
Yeah.
And I think I've never done such a long season, and I think you can also not just do them year after year. You need to be careful with it, because your body needs some rest eventually.
How does off season look like in terms of training?
Yeah, so I usually do take like 2 to 4 weeks off, of like at least 2 weeks of completely off from structured training. Maybe I do a run or a swim, but just for fun. And maybe also I don't swim. And yeah, then I get gradually into it. And maybe it's 2 weeks where I just train for myself, and then we go back with a structured plan.
Yeah, it's important to take a break, right? Also for the mental side, like sleep in, have like nothing planned out, and you're just like, okay, I can just relax.
Yeah, and I think the more seasons I have in me, like the more off season just gets like by feel and how long I need it to be.
Yeah.
And do you now, having had such a long season, do you feel tired, like your body and your mind, or how do you feel?
Well, I felt really tired during the summer. So we were on camp in St. Moritz, and it was just like my season has already been going on February till July. And there I really felt like I don't know how much I have left in me, but somehow I got back, and it came back again, like the motivation and the strength and feeling fit.
So was that more the body or more the mind?
I think it was more the mind, just like with lots of traveling and like racing and always pushing yourself. And yeah, sometimes you cannot predict what the mind does.
Yeah, it's really hard, or it must be hard to really always be on top, and you really push yourself a lot in those races, right? And it's painful. So always like knowing this is gonna happen again, and it takes a lot.
Yeah, and it's like sometimes you can do 3 months after each other, and they feel like you feel completely strong, and all of a sudden it feels like, yeah, now I need a break.
Yeah.
And you cannot predict it beforehand.
Yeah. Have to listen to the body.
Yes.
The best you can do. Cool. So we're getting close to the end. And one thing that we always do in the podcast is asking for tips for others. So what I want to ask you is if you would have one piece of advice to share for the average endurance athlete, what would that be?
Endurance comes over time, I would say. So just keep going. Don't see the impressive workout and try to like achieve it right away, but get slowly towards it, because it takes time, but you eventually get there.
Consistency.
Cool. I mean, I would love to ask you a bit about favorite sessions. What is your favorite bike session?
I think like 3 times 20 minutes up a gradually incline.
Really?
Yes, I love just climbing.
Oh wow, really hard.
Yeah, but not flat on an uphill.
Okay.
I think that's what I really love. But you need to feel like you need to have good legs for it.
Nice. What's your favorite session on the run?
Yeah, also the longer stuff. Maybe like if you feel good, a build run is just very exciting.
Long runs are the best.
Yeah, I just
also
don't
like
like
them.
like 1Ks on the track, I hate them. They're just, when you don't feel good, they're just frustrating.
Fair enough.
Actually, also don't like them because they're so. 1K is also, it's not so short that it's okay. They're kind of like going too long that it's like, it's like, oh, 1K, it's not that short.
Yeah, like 400 meters on a track are fine.
Yeah, because it's just one.
Yeah.
1K is like 2 loops and a bit more.
Cool now.
And then on the swim, what's your favorite there?
I think there it's actually hundreds, like maybe 20 times 100, leaving like, just having a short rest and like pushing.
Leaving how
much rest?
Yeah, it depends a bit. Like if you're swimming in a 50-meter pool, I would say 130.
Nice.
Yes,
I haven't even arrived then.
But I think you need to have a group for that. Like alone, it's a bad session. It's a tough step. It's a tough one.
Cool. So yeah, should we do the final thing?
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being here. The last thing we want to ask you is, where can listeners find you if they want to get to know more about you or contact you or follow you?
Well, I think it's mainly Instagram where I post my stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll link it on the show notes. But
Nice. It was a super pleasure to have you here, and exciting to see what's gonna happen next season.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Human Endurance. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. If you like the show, don't forget to rate it and hit the subscribe button whatever you're listening to it. This helps us to reach a bigger audience. Thank you and see you next time.